All right, so a couple of things. Thank you all for coming. Our last, and I'll do the same thing with these notes that I did last time. I'll post them all and on the website and in the discussion group. And if I can get my mouse to work, it'll be really good. So this is the last meeting, as George said. We're off July and August. We will do a couple of webcast sessions on July 17th and August 7th. That's basically 3 weeks from now and 3 weeks from now. And the way you do that is you go look at our calendar, and our calendar is a Google calendar. You go to the website, right? You'll see that for August 7th, for example, there'll be this green bar down here that says, that's Monday evening session.
Can you take it from scratch, what they would do?
How you get to the website? No,
Yeah.
Everybody in this room knows how to get to the website, right? Anybody who doesn't know how to get to our website? NaplesMug.com. You just type it in your browser and you get to the website. Then you go to calendar. Calendar is now up at the top. And you'll go to August 7th and it'll say Naples Zoom meeting. When you click on that, there's a link here. See right there, https Zoom US blah, 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 right? You click that and it takes you to the meeting, and then you're watching my little happy face, just like this person is looking over here, right? You'll see a face. You should see a face. Somehow we lost it. All right, anyway, that's why we're practicing, because this sometimes works and sometimes we don't know what we're doing. All right, so just 2 meetings. We're also doing the library meetings in this room, which is the second Monday. So there's a blue thing that says extended meeting, and then for July we have the same thing on July 8th, extended meeting. And that's in conjunction with the library to try and get people from the library to participate with us. So we're doing both those. If you go to the calendar, you'll see those. Just on the website, which I will show you in a minute, I have moved the website around a little bit. I was doing some things that I thought should be better at the top than on the side. So when you go to our website now,
Yeah, I noticed that yesterday.
when you go to our website, the things that are important to members are now here, right? Because I'm on NaplesMug.com. You all know how to do that. And the calendar that I just referred to is this calendar. You click calendar and you see calendar. And then here's classes, notes, Wednesday meetings, notebook tutorials, and modifying your own information. Is all now right at the top, just so you just see it. You don't have to worry about menus. When we're on our devices, particularly our phones, both the side and top menus get hidden. So this way the menus are right there for us to use, right? I've also added this tab, how do I do that? And how do I do that is just a list of things that we've been covering over the last 2 or 3 years, but pretty current right now because I haven't gone back in time. And the point is to make those things visible and easy for those of us who need to know how to do that. So here's the list that is currently in existence, right? They're broken down by administrative and by Mac, and eventually I'll add iDevices. But for example, how do I add the NMUG calendar to my Mac or iDevice? So you click that, you'll get a little page, it's a PDF, it'll download to your computer, and then you'll have the instruction on how to do that. Sir?
If I can't make it to
Would
the
you
meeting,
say your name, please?
Bergmeister. If I can't make it to the meeting, can I watch the program live through this?
Yes. The webcast will be, I mean, there will be no meeting on the 7th of July,
Yeah.
or the
I mean
7th.
regular meetings.
Regular meetings, we record everything, and they're all on the website.
But are they live? Can I watch it live?
Well, we're trying.
Oh,
This meeting is being recorded. That little green light says it's being broadcast and recorded. So you'll see the same, hopefully, if we have a real person. If this works, it will be recorded just as I'm doing it right now. So how do I do that? How do I post my photo? And then down here, we've added some, pardon me, I've added some things like how do I set iCloud to save emails on your Mac instead of in the cloud? How do I export photos and maintain the original creation date? Some of those other questions that are repetitive kinds of questions. Okay, any questions about that?
Yeah, on the calendar, I noticed that the Zoom things are now appearing. I mean, is there a reason why they have to appear? I mean, isn't the NMUG's meeting enough?
No,
It pops up on my
because
calendar that there's a Zoom meeting at 11:15.
you can delete it.
I understand I can delete it, but it comes in the subscription. Why is that coming that way?
Because it's coming, our calendar is a subscription calendar. So when you subscribe to this calendar, assuming it will pop up here shortly. When you subscribe to this calendar, you subscribe to everything that's on the calendar.
But the Zoom thing is new. Why is it there? Isn't that redundant? When we're having a meeting, don't people know that it's
The
Zoom?
only way people know about Zoom is by clicking the link, and they need to know when the Zoom, where the link is to click.
Okay, got it.
So the choice is, and the board's discussing this, I don't know what we're going to decide, but right now, we're putting that on the calendar so that when people outside need to know where the link is, they just go to the calendar and find the link.
Okay, great, thanks.
And it's not, I mean, we're learning, so.
So we really don't even need to go to the calendar on the site. What he's saying is that since he subscribes to our calendar, it's
Right.
on his calendar.
No, but it doesn't tell you how to get there.
Well.
It just says Zoom 11:15. The
Right.
only reason I noticed
calendar,
is,
just for clarity here, this is my calendar, right? And when I go to day, I'm subscribed to the calendar you're referring to. It now says NMUG, that's our meeting notice as we usually see it. And when I click this guy, this is the Zoom calendar and it has the link. So anybody in the club can subscribe to the NMUG calendar and get on their iCal calendar, assuming they've done it properly. They can get the link right here, and then you just click that, and you'll see on your screen what we're broadcasting.
gotcha.
Well, Marty, you said we could cancel, we could delete those individually, usually on a subscribed
You
calendar.
can just click that guy and delete it.
Okay.
I'm looking at this on my iPad, and I don't see how I connect to how to get there.
And you might not be subscribed.
Go to the how do I get my calendar and follow the instructions. That's why it's there.
Well, I have Zoom on my calendar.
Oh, you do have it on there?
I'm not showing a link either.
I have for today's calendar, I have Zoom webcast and on NMUG weekly meeting.
Okay,
So when I go to Zoom webcast,
yeah.
it doesn't tell me how to get
If you hit more, if
If
you
you
hit
don't
show
scroll-
more at the bottom,
Open it,
show
and
more,
click to join Zoom meeting.
show all notes, would
yeah,
that be?
show all notes,
Oh,
and there's a
okay,
link.
gotcha, okay.
I
So
had
it's,
just
you
dug
have to
that
go
out.
to show all notes.
You have to open this guy.
Yeah, well, it doesn't open when I tap on it.
Well, I just opened it.
Yeah, I'm talking about on the iOS device, that's what I'm trying to figure out, how people would know.
You gotta go to show all notes when you get at the
Right.
bottom.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the questions that you've all emailed in. I appreciate it. I think we got a bunch of good questions. There were a couple of questions that were carryovers from the last meeting that I just want to touch on. The first one is a question that we had about how do we switch to the vowels, and I think this was an iPad issue. But when you click, for example, here, if we're typing, if I hold down the I key and hold it in, I get the choices of which of these accented I's appear, right? You see what I'm doing? I'm just holding down the I key with my right hand. And then on the screen here, you have I umlaut, I caret, I accent, I reverse accent on I long, right? So if you wanted to put a long I there, I would press the 3, and then I would get the I with the accent. So for those of you who are interested in that, I wasn't clear last time on what the question was, I just wanted to cover that. You just hold down the pertinent key, and that's the case for every vowel. That's the case for every vowel, all right?
Marty, just a second, do you hear me?
Yes.
This is Eckhart calling from Germany.
Yeah.
And I believe in order for all of us for the proper recording, I wonder, could you push the share button so that we people can also see what is on your screen?
I'm sorry, I did not do that.
If you could do it, it would be very helpful. And I get out of the quickly.
No, on
But
the
I'm
far right.
I'm glad that I can hear you. That's
On the far right at the bottom.
On the far right, it says share.
Thank you, Eckert.
Thank you, Eckhart.
wonderful. Thank you.
Now I just have to know that I'm recording something, and I'll be really happy.
I think you're okay now, Marty.
You do? Yeah, it
Eckert,
says
is
pause.
he on?
It says pause recording. Well, there's my little face, so I must be on something.
Don't pause.
All right, anyway, so we're making progress. And
Press-
there are 3 participants, so for those of you who are interested, we have Sheeta from Detroit, we have Eckhart, and obviously I'm on because I'm the host. Okay, so what we were just doing was I was just holding, take my face off of here. I was just holding the I down. For example, to type an I here, if I wanted it to be a caret or something, I would just hold my finger down on the I and then decide that I wanted the I accent. So I would push number 3 and I would become I accent. So that's good if you're, if you're looking for umlauts or accents, if you're doing some Spanish language things. The other question that came up last time, I said I would get it. Oh, $25. The phone is ringing.
$25 fine.
Thank you. That's my lunch. So on the new MacBook Pro, how to open for full screen? And I said I wasn't quite sure of that, but I would get back to you. So there are a couple of issues. One is if we were talking about the full screen, for example, for this app, which is the Pages app, you would simply hold in. You see the green button there has a double arrow pointing down and up. If one holds that, it is now full screen. And where has my toolbar gone? My toolbar is hidden up at the top, so I have to move my cursor up to the top to get to the toolbar. But that's how you get full screen. That's one way. The second way is if you want it to default to always be full screen. Here are the instructions. This is very complicated stuff, by the way. I Googled how to make a Mac open to full screen. I just put those words on the search bar, and it gave me this answer. So for those of you who want to learn things, do things, learn the answer to things, it's simple sometimes to just go Google it. And I can't say Apple it because Apple doesn't have the search engine that Google does. So here, how to make the full screen default. Go to the Apple menu, choose System Preferences, go to General, and uncheck the box which says Close Windows when quitting an app. So what does that all mean? Let me get out of this. System Preferences, go to General, and down here at the bottom, I guess I can't do this because of the size of the screen. Down here at the bottom, there's a button. Sorry. Yeah, I can't do it that way. Down here at the bottom, it says, close Windows when quitting an app. If you check that, then the windows close even though they're in full screen. If you uncheck that, okay, the next one was submitted for this meeting. And it says, when I cut a row and paste it somewhere else on the spreadsheet, it leaves a blank row in the middle of the spreadsheet. How do I get rid of the blank row? I've tried highlighting it and delete, but that doesn't work. All right, Well, numbers is a little bit too smart. So here's a prescription. You select the row by right-clicking. I'll show you, I'll take you to the examples in a minute. You select the row by right-clicking on the row on the left. You copy the row, you delete the row, move to the new location, and paste the row. And what that does when you delete the row is it moves all the information up. So what am I talking about?
So instead of using cut, I use copy?
Hold on. So here's a spreadsheet, right? I copy this row, I select the row by clicking on the number there, and I do a Command C, which copies that row. Then I delete the row so that November 8th is gone. Delete the row. Then I put my row in where I want it, down past November 22nd, Command V.
You're in pages and not in numbers.
No, this is in numbers. These are screenshots of numbers.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay, so you copy it, delete the row, move to the new place, and paste the row.
Okay, thank you very much. But now, since I did it the other way, I have 2 blank rows in the middle of the spreadsheet. How do I get rid of those?
Delete.
Delete doesn't work.
What?
I tried it. I highlighted the row and I pressed delete in the edit menu and it doesn't go away.
I think if you right click on it, it gives you the
So
option.
when I go to numbers, this is a form. If I take this row and I select it, and I say delete this row, now the error is because I had a thing in there, right?
The formula?
That's Command Z, yeah, because I make these all a formula for the date, right? So June 27th is going to be gone. And the way I delete that row is I right-click it and I say delete row. And now this is going to be, contains an invalid reference because I took the reference out.
Okay, for my row, the row I'm talking about is completely blank.
Right.
Because what I did was the cut maneuver, not the copy maneuver.
So when you do this, if I delete this row,
No. Cut the row.
First
cut the row.
First
So
cut
you're
the row.
cutting the row, so you're doing Command X. Now I have a blank row,
Right.
right? And now you're saying if I delete this, it doesn't delete the row?
Well, it just did it on yours.
Yeah.
Well, you have to have two actions instead of just one. You have to cut it and then delete it.
Yeah, actually copy, delete, and then paste.
Maybe if I copy a blank row, I can delete it.
I don't know why it's not working, Jim.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, there was an interesting exchange also on Apple customer service, which I just wanted to copy because I had some comments about it. This blue writing says, I reported last time that my HomePad stopped working after 15 months. I didn't buy AppleCare for it. They refused to replace it at the Coconut Point store. And then I called AppleCare and they did replace it. And then somebody else wrote, I think Jim wrote, also remember that credit cards sometimes extend the manufacturer's warranty. So if you buy something with a credit card that extends your warranty automatically, that might also cover it. So keep those two things in mind. My comment on AppleCare and Apple in general is these guys are spectacular. If you think that there's a problem, you talk to somebody at AppleCare and they will take care of it for you. They have spent hours with me on the phone. I think a couple of meetings ago I raised some questions that I didn't know the answers to. My photos weren't doing right, my time machine wasn't working right. They spent hours and hours to get me to the point where it actually worked. So they're just light years ahead of the rest of the world in terms of customer service.
Oh, absolutely.
The other comment I'd make for those of you who teach, NMUG teaching is teaching. And there's an educator's discount for stuff that you buy. So for those of us who teach, keep it in mind. I saved $200 on my new
Or if
iMac.
you're a retired teacher, they'll also do it. Yeah.
They do, it's hard.
I always get an educator's discount for that.
Well, I wasn't even thinking of it, and then
I've done
bought my new
I've done it
iMac.
for years.
I bought my new iMac, and there it was. So, cool. All right, next question.
Also,
I'm
if
sorry.
you're a veteran, there's now
Yeah,
a
veteran
special
discount.
discount.
Marty?
The only problem is then I have to wear my hat.
Can I follow up on the full screen?
Sure.
Because I do not have that check, or whatever, I have it as you described, but that must be, is that if you did it for like you were on Pages or whatever, it's only for that application?
Unless
Not
you,
for all,
yeah, if you uncheck the box,
yeah.
then when you close the app, it will come back in full screen.
If it was in full screen when you closed it. Okay, just that each particular app, not.
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
I think so. I don't use full screen, so I'm just reading what I'm reading.
Marty?
Go ahead.
I don't remember what the question was, but I recall that I wasn't at the meeting. You mentioned in your report about using the right click on your computer to do things.
Yeah,
And I would just also add to that, that if you're on an iOS device, a lot of the things that a right click does on the computer, the share
right.
button will do on the iOS. So if you're looking for a solution to do something, always check the share button to see if it's there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The share button is the secret. That everything is in the share button somehow. You know, if you want to print, if you want to copy, you want to duplicate, you want to send it to somewhere, email it, message it.
This is on your iPhone and your iPad.
Yeah. And actually, share button on the Mac is getting pretty good too. Next question was about picture. When the subject, a picture subject is highlighted, how can I make the flash fire? Simply selecting flash on doesn't seem to work. The key, and I can't demonstrate this. I thought I'd be able to do this. Actually, I don't know if I brought any pictures down. Let me see. No, I didn't get any pictures. The key, anyway, is where the focus is located. Once you put the auto flash on, and I did this a lot when I was taking orchid pictures, because the bright light would be around it, and you want to focus on this little tiny orchid, and you want the light to be on the face of the orchid. When you turn on that when you turn flash on, if you don't put the focus on the subject, the sensor still picks up the average light around it, and it doesn't enhance the face or the orchid or whatever you're taking a picture of. So you have to put the auto flash on, and then touch where you want the light to be, and that will enhance where the flash goes. And then it recognizes that you want that thing highlighted, not this thing highlighted. So it's a function of where the focus is.
You mean just touch, not touch and hold, just
Yeah,
touch.
just touch it so that that little white box appears on the
Oh, touch and hold.
where your flash is.
Wait,
Well, if you hold it, you can't push the shutter, right? You have
No,
to
once
make the box.
if you hold it, it'll lock.
Oh, okay, not hold forever, but.
No, but just
Lock it.
hold, instead of just tapping it,
Right.
you hold it for a second, it'll lock.
Oh, I see, and the message comes up at the top that says lock.
Right.
Thank you.
I think Mitch sent me this article. He wanted my opinion about Dropbox, OneDrive, and so forth and so on. The article is here, and I left the article in for people who want to read it. It is a very good article. It compares Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive. And I think I've said this a few times in various iCloud classes that I've done. To me, it all depends on what else you have going, right? if you already use Office 365, you get OneDrive, a terabyte of OneDrive for free. So I'm paying for Office 365, $79 a month, a year or whatever, and I get a terabyte. So that makes it handy for me to use OneDrive, right? If I already use, if I'm an Amazon Prime user, I get free photos, as many as I want, a gazillion photos can go to Amazon Drive for free as part of my Prime membership.
I think
That's
that-
$129.
I don't think that they take the full-size photos, though.
They do.
Oh, they
I have
do?
all mine on.
Okay.
You have to pay for videos though, because you quickly run out of the 5 gigabytes for videos. You know, if you put a couple, 20, 30 videos up, you're at 5, boom. So that's how they get you on
Huh.
putting other things on. But your pictures are all stored, and you can put them in albums and edit them and do all that.
If your videos are in your photo library, then do they sort them out for you, or do they automatically?
You sort them out.
You tell it whether you want your videos or your photos when you're uploading them?
You tell them which albums or which
Oh, which albums?
moments or whatever criteria you want to use.
Okay.
So then you can delete them from your Mac, and they're still in the cloud?
They're still in the cloud, they're still in Amazon Drive. You can have a syncing folder, you can make a folder and sync them. And the easiest way to do this, by the way, is don't import, you know, in Photos, let me cover this because this is a cute little thing here. In Photos Preferences, we all have this little box that says, so I'm in Photo Preferences, right? You can see that? We all have this little box that says, copy items to the photo library. Well, if I do that, then they're all in Photo Library, right? Including my videos. Then if I want to sync those with Amazon, I have to sort the way you just described. But if I leave them out of the photo library, which means they would be located in some folder called Pictures, but not in a library. Here's my photo library. Here's my photos, right? So these photos are not in the photo library. And when I go to Apple, I say, when I go to Amazon, I say, I want you to take the ones that are pictures, not this guy. And the photos go up to Amazon and not my videos and not my photo library. So you don't have to bring them into your photo library. And there are some reasons to not do that anyway. If you want to use Photoshop or Lightroom to edit, or some other thing to edit, it lets you keep the pictures and edit the pictures without having to go through the export from Photos, edit, import the, you know, doing this back and forth stuff that you do with Photos.
So I can take photos directly from my SD card and have them go to one of those, and it does not take up space on my Mac.
Right.
Thank you.
If you use iCloud, and if you especially use Family Plan, you have the entire ecosystem. So that makes it advantage to go to iCloud. So what I'm saying, and Dropbox is used by everybody cross-platform, right? My kids send their pictures to me on Dropbox because they like Dropbox better than sharing through iCloud and other stuff. So there's no right answer. I use them all, as I said many times. Depends what I'm doing. I've got, if you look on my devices, my personal devices, not the club computer, I have them all and I have stuff in all of them. Just depends.
Yeah,
The easiest way for me to transfer things from my iPad or my Mac to my Microsoft Surface is using OneDrive. I put them on OneDrive, Surface reads them, they're on my OneDrive, and I don't have to put cables, I don't have to worry about emailing or anything. It just goes that way.
The reason I brought that up is because Dropbox, unless you can get by up to 2 gigabytes, they're getting quite expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually contacted them because I just paid for my annual $100 for, it's now 2 terabytes. In my analysis, I found I was only using 1.6 gigabytes because they don't put my photos up there.
1.6 gigabytes.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I'm paying for a terabyte or 2 terabytes, and so I just wasn't using it. And so I thought, well, why am I using this? And if I want to do more, I can do up to 5 gigabytes in, is it OneCloud or?
OneDrive.
OneDrive. And, but what, interesting, when I contacted them, I said, hey, I just paid this in March. Do you give a prorated refund? No, we do not.
Right.
But we'll set it up in our computer to automatically downgrade you next March. But they're just getting quite expensive in comparison. And the thing that really ticks me off is they offer nothing between 2 gigabytes and 2 terabytes. They want you to pay the money.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing is, right? If they get 1 million of us to pay them, $100 a year, $200 a year, it's fine. It's real money.
But I've been using the Microsoft one now for a while, and I like it, which
It works.
thanks to you, and it works really smooth.
It works very nicely.
And how much is the Microsoft one?
You get 5 gigabytes for free, and then it's, what, $69 a year if you...
It's $79 if you buy one Office 365, but I think there's a different plan for individual, just if you just want OneDrive by itself, without the Office functions. Question 7 that came in was, how do I quit a program that's locked up on my computer? I tried Command Spacebar, that didn't work. I had to reboot. Well, sometimes you have to reboot. Force quit usually works. As we were playing around with Zoom, down here, if you right-click on the icon, it would show you force quit instead of quit, right? And that's how you know the thing is hung up. I don't think any of these are hung up at this point. So right-clicking the icon works. The other thing that works is Apple menu force quit, right? And that will show you programs that are hung up. Right now, there are no programs that are hung up. And sometimes Finder gets stuck and relaunch, takes the desktop, wipes it away, and then relaunches and puts everything back on the desktop. So those are 3 ways to get that to work, get the redone. The last question was, I had another question too, but I can't remember it. Well, I can't remember the answer, so we're in good shape. Exhibit 3. All right, let's just review what we did last week, or last month rather. I had a 2-week list, the June 5th list and this list. I'm not going to get to cover all these because it's already 12:15. I'll cover a couple of them and I'll post the rest of the answers. The check marks are the ones we did last time. Just for completeness, those notes are right. Those notes are also here. We covered what right-clicking does, control right-click or control-click, how to restart and disable mode, why it's important, how to check to see if my phone's been backing up or not, and how to recover a backup on an iPhone. And then these other questions. As time goes on, if you think of other things that you want to know about, send me a list, and I'll be covering those either on the webcasts or on the next meeting we do in September. Pardon me. You had a question?
Yeah, I sent you a question yesterday, but I guess you didn't get it. I open up and I get a thing that says this app, what's it say? I can't remember. This app is not, this accessory is not working on this device or something. And then I dismiss and everything works. I get that every time I open up. I think there's some things that need to be upgraded, but I don't know what they are.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, what, yeah, it's the new
Yeah, accessory not supported.
accessory not supported.
Not supported. It says, this accessory is not supported by this device. I get this every time I turn it on. Then I hit OK, and it works just fine.
And what's the device? What's the accessory?
Well, that's what I don't know.
Is
That's
there
my
anything
question. I can't fix it because I don't know what it is.
Marty, I get that message sometimes when I use an off-brand charge cable.
Hmm.
Well, I just turned it on and I don't have any cable.
Yeah, that's weird.
It gave me the same
It almost
message.
implies something has to be connected to it.
Well, I've gotten those errors when I plug something into the, into the accessory port. And if it's not compatible, it'll tell you, or if you're using an adapter, like some of these USB-C things require adapters. If you use the wrong adapter with whatever's plugged into it, it'll have a conflict. But if you don't have anything connected to it, I don't know the answer.
You try rebooting it.
Yeah, turn the whole thing off. You turned it all off, powered
It's
off,
been going on for months.
but you powered it off, not just put it to sleep.
Yeah, every time I turn it on, I get that message. I say dismiss and it works fine.
Try a hard reboot maybe. What? A hard reboot, where you hold down the home button. Do you have a home button on there? Do you have a home button on there?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, home button and the on-off button. And hold it down for a while until the apple shows up. And just wait until it comes back up and see if you can get rid of it. Just keep holding it, both of them. Till you see the apple. Okay. Now just wait a few minutes and you should be able to get back into it and see what happens.
All right.
You know, with Apple threatening to not even handle 32-bit apps at all, I would just like to delete them, but in the process of uninstalling, little bits and pieces get left behind. And I'd like to know how to securely delete any trace of a 32-bit app.
Why?
Well, because I'm worried that they should cause problems later. But particularly, I had a Citrix app, a VPN app, and it had pieces everywhere, and I really wanted to eliminate them, and it was hard.
There are two apps that I use at home. I don't have the names. But they're basically uninstaller completer apps. It sounds confusing, but what I mean by that is they do what you just said. They find the little things that are left behind and clear up. I think, I'll try and add the names on there. There are two apps that I've used. Dr. Cleaner, I think, is one, and I don't remember. Jerry, do you have any in mind? I'll add the names here, but I think Dr. Cleaner was one. And there might be another one. But generally speaking, I don't think that's necessary. I mean, I wouldn't lose any sleep over little pieces that are left behind. Because these devices don't last 20 years. I mean, they're going to last 3, maybe 4. You're not going to have a gazillion bytes of stuff sitting around somewhere. That's my opinion. Anything else? Any other questions before we go on? Your name, please, sir.
Oh, sorry, Beverly Dale. If someone sends me a photo in an email, and I open that email on my iPad, and I want to get that photo into my photos, I can't see any way to do it. Is there an easy way to do it?
From email?
On an iPad. It's easy on my iMac because I just put the attachment and it says add to photos. That's easy. But if I open it on my iPad, I can't see any way to put it in my photos.
Did you try putting your finger on the photo and seeing save?
No, I haven't. I'll try it.
Doesn't the share give you the same option too? Okay.
Say it again, sorry.
I thought the share button also gave you that
It,
option.
it does.
On a mail,
I didn't see that. I tried that. I tried the share button and the share, the little share thing or forward or whatever it is.
No, share is a box with an arrow in it.
Okay, okay.
This
So
one
you
came
can,
up
I
as
thought I
shared
tried
image.
that, maybe I didn't.
Yes, right, share image, save image.
Save it.
If it says save image, it'll go to your photos. Or sometimes if you just tap on it, it'll give you that option.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Let's just-
Tap and hold sometimes.
Sometimes it's the operative word. Works so fast.
So, come on. I guess it's not gonna let me do it. Anyway, hold and save image. Is the answer. I'll try to show you as soon as I get rid of this Zoom thing. Okay, so we were talking about the list of things. There are just a couple that I want to just go through. One question was, how do I restore my printer settings when I get that printer not found error? We've all had that, right? We don't know what that is. Printer not found. I've been using this printer for 3 years. What do you mean it's not found? It's right there. It's in the cabinet. What happened? Sometimes it's because the default changes, and sometimes it's because the settings get mixed up, and sometimes you lose the Wi-Fi signal. So my prescription, what I do at home is the following. First, I check my printer system status, and you do that in System Preferences / Printers, right? So sometimes you'll see an error like this. It'll say offline, but it's still the default. And offline is not a good sign. It means it doesn't see it. Sometimes it'll be because you're not where it's supposed to be and you're sharing this printer, and that's not checked, so that it's not on the network. And sometimes, the most important one is this guy. Default printer is not the one that you want it to be. It'll change to the PhotoSmart printer or some other printer. So you have to make sure that this is the default printer. Sometimes this will say last used, and last used means if I use my PhotoSmart printer, right, then this is going to say last used. Now I want to print to my office jet, and it thinks it's printing to the other printer. So you want to check those 3 things first. If those are okay, turn off everything and turn them all back on. And the way you do that is by turning on the printer first and then the computer. If that doesn't work, turn everything off, unplug the printer, wait a minute. And I mean literally, not just unplug it, plug it back in. Unplug it, wait a minute, and then plug it back on. Sorry.
Power?
Power plug, right. Yeah, sorry. Then plug the power back in. And restart everything. And lastly, if that doesn't work, delete the printer and reinstall. What do I mean by delete the printer? Up here, you have a little minus sign. So you select the printer that's there, you do a minus sign, it goes away, then you say plus, and it'll go find it again, and then load it in, okay? So those are my prescriptions. And if none of that works, go buy a new printer. You know, the new printers are super duper. You buy them at Costco, they cost $100. They last a year or 2, fine. You know, for $100.
They'll take them back.
And they'll take them back, yeah, if you want to really be whatever. But for $100, you could, you know, 2 years worth, it's fine. How do I recover a file I inadvertently deleted? How many of us have done that? You know, you go into your directory, your Explorer, you delete it, put it in trash, empty the trash. You say, oh my God, whatever. You don't want to empty the trash. Command Z, right? Everybody knows about Command Z?
Yep.
Command Z is your friend.
Undo.
Command
Is that
Z.
the
Anybody
undo?
not know Command Z? Anybody not use Command Z?
Is that undo?
Emblazon it on your forehead.
Yes, that's.
Command Z.
But it doesn't go back very far.
It'll go back as many steps as you have done in the sequence that you've done this. So obviously if I delete this thing I'm working on, I can't Command Z it if I have empty trash, right? Or if I take this thing and I say, I want to delete this guy right here, so I go and I delete Open Time Machine, right? Now Open Time Machine is gone. If I do Command Z, it's there. If I do Command Z again, it takes me to whatever the other choice was that I changed, which was back up here, and now I'm Command Z. Jerry just suggested not plug it in, plug the power back in, right? So Command Z, Command Z, Command Z, it'll take me all the way back. Now, I bet you don't know Command Shift Z, right? Command Shift Z, you see what's happening? Command Shift Z, put power back in here. Command Shift Z takes the next one out right here, and then Command Shift Z stops because that's the end. So Command Shift Z reverses Command Z. Got it? Command Shift Z or Command Z. So Command Z, I now put Open Time Machine back in there. On an iPad or an iPhone, how do you do that? You shake the iPad or iPhone.
You gotta really shake it.
Does it always
Some of
work?
us like to do it. It's our exercise for the day. Use Time Machine. Everybody knows how to get something from Time Machine. You go up here to the little squiggle guy, right? You say, enter Time Machine. You go to Time Machine. Here's your current document. Here's my document from yesterday, or the day before, and I scroll back to whenever I want to start, whatever my earliest version was. And if I say restore, that restores that document.
So it's only that document you have open, that you go to Time Machine and go back?
No, in this case, it's that document, but if I was in a directory,
Right.
it would open the directory.
It would open everything.
Right. So I'm going to say done because I don't want to restore anything, right? If instead of being here, I'm sitting in my Finder and I want to look at my movies to see what was in this directory, I go to Time Machine. You see what I'm doing? I'm going up here to the little arrow guy, enter Time Machine. So it will take me back to whatever I had in this directory then. Whatever I had in this directory in March. And I can restore that. Now, one caveat, hold on just a second. One caveat. If I were going to do something like this, let's say I wanted to get my old iMovie directory. If I wanted to get my old iMovie directory, but I didn't want it to overwrite it. When I restore it, it's going to put that in there at the same name. So I want to copy this. I'm going to duplicate this. It might take a little while. Duplicating. So now it duplicated my thing, and it's got a different name, right? So here's my copy, and it's called copy. Now when I go into Time Machine and I say I want to restore that library, I've preserved the current version of that library. So you have to just sort of think about when you restore, it restores it to the same name today, right? So it would take this version from March and it would restore it back into this position, right? If I select one of these guys and say restore, it takes that copy from June 25th and puts it in today's copy. So you want to be careful about restoring what you're doing. Yes, sir?
Two comments. On that one, for me, it usually says a copy already exists. Do you want both of them, or do you want to replace? It gives me the option
Oh, really?
of not doing that.
Right, mine too.
I don't remember that.
So you don't have to do what you did.
Okay.
It does say there's one there. Do you want to replace them, or do you want to vote, or do you want them both? What I was starting to say is, I think I found it in mail, that if you actually go into one of the mailboxes, Time Machine works, so you can go back
Oh, yeah.
in time on mail. I have not found out how to do that in some of the other applications.
You know, what Jerry's talking about is this: if you go into a mailbox here, let's say, it's not gonna let me do that because I'm not signing in. But whatever is here, I can go to Time Machine and scroll back, you know, to whenever I have a date here. This is from March, so this, that's my inbox from March, but my archive from March will be the things that were in this slide, in this thing from March. And if I have files, in my iCloud account, for example, I keep other files. I keep other folders besides the ones that are part of mail, and it would restore those as well.
While you're on mail, is anybody here using Sandbox to manage their mail?
No, just Jeff.
Just Jeff.
Sandbox?
Just Jeff.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to use it.
Marty?
Yeah.
Another thing that you can do in Photos and iOS 12 Notes, you have a recently deleted file. I think it's also in Photos on the Mac, and that's good for 30 days. And that happened to me in Notes, and I went back and I found what I accidentally deleted in the recently deleted file. I'm not sure what other apps have that. I don't know what, I guess Pages has previous versions. which
Yeah,
is-
Pages. All the
iWork
things have
previous versions.
or recently deleted folders on iDevices and versions on the iWork programs, or I guess we call them apps now. Apps. Pages, verbs. It's like a type that you're really good. What do we mean by previous versions? Let me show you that. Previous versions is on the Pages menu up here, and this works for Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. If you go to File, Revert to, it will say Browse All Versions, and this will show you all versions of this document that have been written, and I can go back and restore one of those versions without doing Time Machine or any of that other stuff. Same thing on an iDevice. You just go to Documents, and up in there, when you select the document, it will say previous versions, and you can see the previous versions. It's really good for Christmas card letters, you know. You write the first one, then you change it, write the second one, but you want to go back and change the one you wrote to Aunt Mabel because, you know, you were snotty and you don't want to be. You can go back and re-edit it before you mail it, you know, or mail her a new one and say, my wife did that, I'm sorry.
Marty, did you say you go to edit or to file, look for that
Yeah.
previous?
File, revert to.
Because I have Pages in previous versions that I made a lot of cards in I like that particular older version much better, but it won't let me create that a lot of times, but sometimes I can.
You might have to, if it's an old version, a new version, you might have to open it in the new Pages, and then it'll start doing this.
Oh, okay.
Because it has to convert. Sometimes they change the way things are stored and what they read.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Pages on my iPad, and if you go to the browse mode,
Yeah.
you can get a recently deleted album there, file there.
Going back to mail, I've never really understood the purpose of the archive file. What do you use it for?
Archiving stuff.
It doesn't really archive, it has some strange function.
Are you in Apple Mail or
Apple
which
Mail.
mail? Which mail do you use?
Apple Mail.
Apple Mail.
Yeah.
So you're using iCloud.
Well, yes, but I mean, the archive is on my computer. What's the value of it?
My archive is not on my computer. My archive is not on my computer, so I don't know why yours is. Hold on, let's see. Mail, accounts. I never remember which side it's on, so hold on.
And on your sidebar there, you scroll down on the
No,
side.
I know, but I'm trying to find where it's stored.
I think you have to open mail to get what he's talking about.
Right.
In mail, and I go to accounts.
It's not there.
No, it's not there, it's in the other place, and how the hell do I get to the other place?
It's right there.
Right there.
It's right there, meeting, you mean here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's not,
Scroll down.
but that's not where,
There's archive right there.
But this doesn't tell me where it's stored, right?
Can't you get info or something?
Get account info. Ah, okay.
So what?
So for those of us who have to record this, that was mail. We went to archive. I right-clicked it, and right-click says get account info, and that's what this is. All right, so now, the question is, where is archive? Where is this stored, right? And this is stored in, still doesn't show me what I want.
I think it's on the Mac. I don't think it's in the cloud.
No, mine is stored in the cloud.
Is it in time machine?
No, mine is stored
Man,
in the
click
cloud.
wouldn't bring it up.
There you go, there you go. So what the heck did I just do? Well, I got to here. Right, so, just to make the point, here's my Naples mug at Naples mug, right? This says mailbox behaviors. Now, when my archive is stored, I get the choice of, do I want it stored in Gmail, or do I want it stored in a folder, right? So this is the Google server, and I put my archive in all mail, which is stored on the Google server.
Did you say that all your mail accounts are stored on the Google server?
No, I said this particular account is stored in the Google server. But, for example, if I want,
So this
if I
question
want
is,
sent mail, I have a choice of on my Mac or in the server, in the cloud, right? So I store my sent mail in the cloud, not on my Mac. So now how did I get
Can
it?
you
I
delete
went
what
to-
you give it to Gmail?
Sure. You have to go to Gmail, though. You can't do it from here. You have to go to Gmail and delete. So this is mail preferences. Let me just do this again. Right? If I go to mail preferences, and I go to accounts, then it says account information, mailbox behaviors, and server settings. Server settings is just which server do I use. But then this lets you set where your choices are. And in this case, I'm not storing my junk on my Mac, I'm storing my junk on the cloud, in Gmail. In this case, I'm storing my drafts on the cloud, not on my Mac, because I have a choice here, right? I could put them on my Mac, but I don't want them on my Mac because I want to be able to use them on any device, right? And I don't have an iCloud account here to show you, but it works that way too. But you can decide where you want your mail to be stored. And if you have trouble, call me.
Marty,
Couple
could you answer the
of,
question I emailed you?
go ahead. What question did you
One
have?
about photos. It's embarrassing to me because Marilyn answered this in her
Oh.
class in January.
Didn't I answer that?
So when I bring up my photos, they just show, and there's nothing behind it except there's nothing but photos and a white screen. I would like every time for the file name to show up under each picture.
You know, I apologize. I saw that question, but I didn't capture it here for some reason. So what you want to do is when you look at a photo in Photos,
No, I just want to, no, not looking at it, just on your back, go back. In iPhoto, they were always there. Every photo underneath it had its file name.
I think under view.
Every photo.
You'd show
Right
me
there.
the-
There would be, under every picture, it would be the file name. And that's what I would like to show. The file name is.
Go to information, go to information.
By my Nikon.
But how do you
Go
get
to
it to show
information there.
automatically?
Yeah, I know, you can get it if you click on the
If you want-
picture, but I just want to automatically show under every picture. And on iPhoto, that was the default.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's a way to get it under photos.
The only way I know is to go
And
on,
I have titles selected there. and-
Right.
Well, like there.
well, if you don't have another title, it will put the number,
Yeah, but it doesn't.
but it won't do it automatically. Now, what you can do is you could probably select all of them and try to hit titles and see what happens.
I'll try.
In other words, instead of selecting one photo, because I know if you select a group of photos and you want to put a keyword in, you can do that by selecting a group of photos.
Right.
So you might want to select a group of photos, hit the titles, and see if that will go in there.
But on that view menu, Marty's been clicking around. Nothing has ever appeared under any of the photos, even though he's got several things selected there under the view. Nothing that he's been doing here has caused anything to appear under any of those
I
photos.
don't know the answer to that, Tom. I'll look at
It should do that. I'm trying to remember. Sometimes it'll say hide stuff.
No, there were like 5 options, like, under view.
Well, pick one and show, and go with the eye and show me what's there.
No, it didn't do it.
It didn't?
How to show file name under photos.
If you don't have a name that you put in there, it should show,
It says like image or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It says image of 02579.
Let me just cover the last point, because this is an important one, and I don't think many people know about it. When we inadvertently delete something, like all of our contacts, or all of our bookmarks, or whatever, somehow they get deleted. I want you all to know that you can actually do this. If you go to, and again, this is in the notes, if you go to Safari or any browser, go to iCloud.com and sign in, like I have done here. Right, you sign in with your Apple ID, you open it and you go to settings, right? And once you go to settings, this is what appears on your next screen. And the next screen is an advanced screen. It shows you the devices that are connected. And then down here it says restore files, restore contacts, restore calendars and reminders, or restore bookmarks. You can use these options. You need to recover data. And this is good within 30 days. So if by chance you happen to delete one of those categories of stuff, you can actually go to iCloud.com, settings, and advanced, and then restore them. most people don't know that that's true.
Before, just leave that screen up a second.
Settings.
George, or Conrad, remember on the Monday meeting, I asked Kenneth to use the other projector that was on the cart instead of that one up there? No, I wanted you to stay on that screen, Marty.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
Very hard, I can't read.
You can hardly read that, look at it.
Yeah.
That's why I turned off the lights earlier.
Right, and that's why I wanted to use the projector on the cart instead of that one up on the ceiling. I just wanted to point that out to you. I don't-
So it's clear.
It's not so light because when Kenneth did his
Right, right.
class on the books on the internet and so forth, I could barely read what he had up there with his slides, and he was on that particular projector. I don't know if it make any difference if you used a different projector, but
Yes.
that's why I asked for
The new projector, you will be able to have every spotlight and light on the room, and you'll be able to clearly read it at the back.
Right, I just wanted to point out to you the difference.
I have no idea.
When does that come?
I have no idea.
Okay, thank you all very much. We will continue this in September.